Warhammer. It's everywhere in the gaming sphere. I've played Vermintide, Martyr, and I found a dungeon crawling hack and slash that looked the part to take on Diablo. I was intrigued and suckered in by Chaosbane. With all its lore and history, I felt optimistic, and you know I'll never knock a co-op, so I had high hopes from the trailers, and being on PS5 as the updated version, it all sounded promising. Do not pay full price for this game. Let's get the warning loud and clear. You can't play the PS4 version as an updated PS5 game. They are separate entities, and ultimately it's a horrible con for the price they're charging, when on PS4 you can pick up the base game for a few quid in the sale. A PS5 version gives you 2 extra characters and 2 extra chapters. That's really all there is apart from better loading. So with an intro like that, you know it's going to be a rocky review.
They sacrificed its people to their dark gods, and any who managed to flee were driven into the freezing wilderness.
So, facts first, as always. I earned this on the 10th of January 2021, so as always, any patches that alter the game I can't speak about, and this was the PS5 version. It's a single player or a co-op for up to 4 players, and has couch co-op for the 4 players also. It's heavily advised to play with mates, as this does get boring fast. Trophies, of which there is 44, there's 1 platinum, 3 gold, 11 silver and 29 bronze. The game size comes in at 11.30 gigabytes, it's nice and small, and the PS5 game clock has me coming in with 37 hours of playtime, but if you know what you're doing you probably can do much quicker, so about 30 to 40 hours on average to earn the platinum. And the platinum is an easy one, but my warning is it's a bit tedious and you're going to need commitment, as this is going to be a grinding trophy, and there's a tiny little bit of RNG, but it's nothing really of a problem. Gameplay and controls. Chaosbane is fun for a playthrough. It throws new skills and perks at you constantly, and leveling up is a breeze, which in turn gives you those new skills and perks. Each one mapped to X square or R1 and so on until your pad is full of abilities at any press of a button. As you progress, your levels earn you points, and you spend those points on your skills that you've unlocked. This is the balance to the abilities, is such that you spend your points on making your favoured skills stronger to level 2 or 3, but at the cost of not being able to make any other ability more powerful until you earn more points. Or you might want a powerful perk, but you may need to downgrade a skill to make those points budget work to fit in. Sounds a little confusing, but very simple in practice, and it works well. Sadly, the game doesn't like to explain itself very well, and things like the God skills, which has its own tab almost hidden away, can be overlooked, and it isn't ever explained. Annoying when some of the big attacks are based on this menu. Armour is a standard affair. White, blue, orange, red, then green is the order of the rarity, and to compare how useful it is against your current wares is done by percentage, so number fans have a lot to jump into and sift through, but casuals like me had helpful green numbers to say it's better and red when it was a negative effect, so you can quickly chop and change and just speed through. Also of note was the armour changes. Basically every armour makes your character look different, but if you didn't like the look of it, if you gifted your armour to the shopkeep, he would reward you with that kind of template, so that you can ask for that template to be on your new armour, and that will stay throughout until you get bored and want to change it with anything else you donated. It was a nice little touch, especially as then you look the part, because some of the armour does look very ugly. So, with the basics of menus and the controls out of the way, let's talk about the gameplay. It's impressive, it's fluid, it's designed to just destroy and run through hordes like the ever-powerful hero you are. The amount of enemies on screen is great, and the skills to cut them down have enough variety to keep you wanting to level up to see the next destructive thing you can earn. But as with most of these games, you quickly notice some characters have vastly more fun and skills than others. For example, the wizard is great fun with a wealth of powers, but the dwarf was boring and bland in comparison, almost like they gave up on him, or they just didn't like him. To negate potions and mana, they opted to go with a refill health potion. Once used, it slowly refills after a minute, and instead of mana, they have a kind of stamina bar. So the standard attacks will fill this gauge, and your fun skills deplete it the more you use it. It works, but some characters are more stamina thirsty, which can be annoying when you're wanting to do sheer amounts of damage but having to wait or switch out all your abilities, because the standard ones to fill the gauge are a bit bland or a bit frustrating. You have 6 characters, and you'll have to complete the game with all of them, and the story is the same each time. Sadly, an issue that starts to unravel is how poorly designed the levels are. The starting point of A, you beat the dungeon, you go to the non-playable character, you cash it in, and he gives you another quest, and you rinse repeat. It doesn't become any more interesting, that sadly, though the very few big bosses are interesting and give a bit of variety. You literally go from A to B, A to B, and it's constant. Even worse is the first 2 chapters, they have very large hub map, but the non-playable characters there are just vapidly empty and pointless, and it is literally just a time mechanic to slow you down and not breeze through this game. As soon as you hit chapter 3 and 4, there is no real hub, and you realise this is how quickly you can get through everything, which is a great shame and kind of underhand on how they're dealing with things, to show you that there isn't really much here. And that's what I'm saying, when you purchase this at full price, you're getting conned, because there isn't as much of the game you think you're getting. Once you complete the story, you unlock boss rush and the higher difficulties of chaos, but you're so powerful, this never really felt difficult. You can start on very easy, you can then switch it however you like, to easy up to very hard, but you never really felt like you were really being pushed or being challenged, which is really frustrating, because you just end up mindlessly going through and just cutting through hordes. And though the gameplay is fun, it does become a bit boring overall when it's just rinse repeat, because the story is just very dull. So I give this a 1.5, as the lack of direction on items and hidden skills is an oversight to the core gameplay. But it is fun, and each character is distinct enough that you'll have your favourites, but the range feels more favoured than the melee styles, which is a great shame. Music. It's bold, brash, dramatic, and it sets the mood, and the music isn't overly bad, but yet it's limited on its variety. When big fights play out, it's a great pump up for the battle or telling the basic story. Sadly, the effects though are very underwhelming. Grabbing fragments, I'm pretty sure, is the same sound as in all the Lego games when you're collecting studs, but hitting enemies did give a meaty hit and connection, and the various skills have credible effects with them. Just the voice acting with the non-playable characters was at times over the top, or just not that great, whilst it also was just okay. It was just a little too dramatic, and it missed the point of the mood sometimes, and it really didn't go well with the accents, which made me laugh a few times. The last boss was woeful in its build up, and it was really painful with the dialogue, and then how it was supposed to just match up to the actual big finale boss. It was really poor, and I think that is the key problem here, is they've worked so much on the gameplay, they really forgot to put a bit more effort into the music and just giving a bit more to the variety. It does its job and it's nice, without ever being great or notable. It's just okay. So sadly, I haven't really got much to say on it. It's just a bit bland. So music gets a 1, because the core music itself is good, just the rest of it lets itself down. Platinum and difficulty. Straight off, there is an odd trophy issue. There is 4 characters that have trophies for completing the story, yet you have 6 players to get the main gold for completing the overall story with everybody. So it's a bit jarring in that sense, because they've just kind of shoehorned in with the trophies there, which was a bit annoying. They're really not bothered at all. Also, in co-op, you should get the trophies unlocked, but sometimes it glitches for non-hosts on completing the acts. Not an issue as you have 5 more playthroughs to grab it, but please note that does sometimes happen, but all the trophies can be earned together. There are 2 difficulty trophies to obtain, and they're simply done by following this kind of simple path to how I platinum this game that I'm going to try and explain to you now. So, for how I got this platinum is just play the game. Start by completing the story. Once finished, you up the difficulty to what you're comfortable with. Preferably Chaos level 1 as a minimum. So that will unlock all the red armors once you start playing through. So once that's all done, now we need to do 50 Relic Hunts. Select any Relic Hunt as you complete it. Several things need to be observed. You'll get 1 to 3 side missions. Simple challenges like beat the ambush or destroy a crypt. Literally quick missions. There is 50 to do also, and should be done way before the 50 relic missions are complete. So do kind of try and keep count, as there's no in-game stat tracker, but it's fairly simple. This should be unlocked hand in hand trophy wise. Whilst doing this, you should start to have the red or even better green items drop as well, which are the kind of super armors. With these, you should have saved all your fragments really and not wasted them, and you should start just putting those items in and blessing them. Even if you're not going to use them, just bless them. Again, you need to do that 50 times with the red and green armors, and another trophy will ping. So after you've grinded through that, we now need to jump into boss rush, which really isn't boss rush at all. You just select the boss, beat him, select the next one, beat him again. Nice and easy. This is where the 2 difficulty trophies come into it, that you need to beat a boss on Chaos difficulty 2 and also on Chaos difficulty 5. Very easy. Once you've done all the relic hunt, you should have really good all base sets of red armor and be ready to kick ass and breeze through it. Really powerful. So again, shouldn't be really a problem. Now, all that should be left is for you to pick one of the 5 characters, set it to easiest difficulty, and you can rush through on the average about 3 hours per character to get the last of the trophies and the platinum, as everything else should ping naturally through your first or second playthrough if you're just paying attention. Like a complete set armor, it's just the names, and there's loads of those being dropped. Another one, collect I think it was 1,000 items, like armor wise, and I think one of the other ones was opening 50 chests. Stuff that will happen really easy. So with that, I do give this a 1.5. I would give it a 2, but the RNG of having to gain those red armor is a bit annoying. Sometimes you can go through and you might get nothing or 1 through the relic hunt. Sometimes you might get 6 or 7. It was just crazy. Just as long as you're knowing what you're doing with the platinum means the game was very simple and straightforward. If you don't know and you don't kind of pay attention, you could be in for a bit of a struggle and a bit of a long grind. But there's nothing difficult. Graphics. Graphically, this game is pleasing on the eyes. It didn't get any slowdown considering the crazy amounts of enemies on the screen at times, and the skills had variety in what I saw and felt big and colourful and noticeably better when you upgraded them. So I felt more powerful as I went along, which is always a good thing. The enemies have got good variety, though really you do notice that though the skins of the enemies have changed, they are kind of just the same. The Chaos Warriors look good, the big bosses look really good, but it's very annoying when it comes to the level design. They look alright, it looks the part, but they just, after a few, you're going to play this game 6 times, they do all kind of blend in and just look the same after a while. Though the lighting looks good and how the colours work, it's just a bit bland and a bit boring and annoying after a while, as there wasn't as much variety or cleverness in just how they were designing things. Also, the non-playable characters all just look a bit dull. Also, the main key characters just look a bit underwhelming. A lot of the armour just looked a bit rubbish. 1 or 2 good ones, which again, thankfully you use the overlay just to keep that as favourite armour, but it's all aesthetics and just all a bit naff, which was a letdown. Also, there's a horrible glitch when you're getting near to the 3rd and 4th chapter. You get screen white, where the game can play and you can actually run through the level still, but sometimes you might only get the map and the whole screen is white, so you don't actually know what's really going on. Sometimes it's just fully white, or sometimes it will be white for a minute and then you're back to actually seeing what the hell you're doing. Kind of undermines the game when I can actually complete their levels blind. That's how silly it gets with their level design, and a big underwhelming mistake which gets highlighted by this glitch. But apart from that, I never really felt there was any other glitches or problems. Once or twice I experienced a crash for no good reason, but nothing really of a problem. So with that, I have to give it a 1, because whilst everything looks shiny and great, some of the issues become more highlighted from the graphical issues that become apparent, which becomes a real kind of problem. Also, they could have really done better with the non-playable characters and how the story's done. They make a nice grand kind of hand-drawn gestured storytelling which looks alright, but you could have done more with it, or actually just given the non-playable characters a bit more impression, because they are a bit poor. Also, the way they interact is laughable. It's a real laughable problem, especially on the last boss. That was just embarrassing. They could have done a hell of a lot better there. Story. The story is your typical, there's evil, it's invading, it's doing some bad crap, and you'll need to descend in and go and do the damage and push them all back to where they came from. It's uninventive, it's boring, and considering Warhammer has a lot of lore and various kind of interesting back catalogue of stories, this was just a letdown. They've just literally given you a hack and slash with a very, very basic level story just to push you on and going along. It turns out the king is a bit unwell, he's been assassinated but not quite dead, and it's now your job to kind of free him from this crap. As I keep saying, it's crap. It is a really poor letdown of a story. It doesn't really propel you to do anything. The characters are boring, the story doesn't kind of make sense at points, where it just kind of makes you go, oh, this person needs your help, so do this and he will do this for you. And it carries on and on and on. It turns out that the big twist at the end, you guessed it right from the beginning because it was that obvious. There was hardly any characters that were any worthy. The main bad guys were literally the worst kind of props. You know, you didn't give a crap about them. They were embarrassing, to be honest. If that was what the great evil is, you kind of can't figure out why they're in power or even a threat. It was a real letdown. So for this, it's a 0.5. When your characters can explicitly turn up to come talk to you in the middle of dungeons, why weren't they doing the quest? You weren't really needed. It was just a real pointless exercise on just making you get from A to B, and that's literally what it is. A to B, a little bit of a relevant story that thankfully you can skip all the dialogue and just go through it, because it is just all irrelevant and becomes just a bore fest. 5.5 is a reasonable score considering how much of a mixed bag of gaming is to be had here. I think this game is frustrating in the sense that with proper thought, care and attention, they actually have a decent platform and a decent game to be made out of the bones of this game. The gameplay and graphics stick out, and it's fun for a few hours, and at its very core, it's a solid, fun game. But they realise how little they've got here, and it becomes a growing concern that other Warhammer games have this same issue with Vermintide 2 and Martyr, that they have a core concept, they have a fun moment of gameplay, but they just don't know how to expand on that and actually give a decent amount of content for the fans and the players. Instead, they just give you vapid, very dull, make you jump through hoops, poor gameplay choices, and it kind of ruins the actual good stuff that they've actually made. It's very annoying. So it's a game of very mixed feelings by the time the platinum's unlocked. The poor attempts at leveling just makes the problems it has grow worse and it highlights them even more. So it's actually counterproductive to what they were trying to achieve. So in all honesty, without being able to buy the PS4 game and get a free upgrade to the PS5, you clearly see how they want to view you and treat you, with a shameless cash grab, as this is not a full price game compared to what they've already had out. It is a shameless cash grab, and it just destroys the image and reputation they could have had built on this, and instead just kind of shows off that they don't really care, they just want your money.
Broken, free from the corrupting touch.
Hope you like this video. Give me a like, subscribe and feedback, and if you need any help or comments on the Platinum itself, just give me a message.